Hello and good evening. Well, the nation was horrified this morning when images of a hydroelectric project being swept away by flooding waters after a glacier burst in Uttarakhand Chamoli district hit the screens. But swift response and disaster management by authorities concerned at both the centre and the state levels contained the damage. Lives have been lost and over 100 people are still missing, but search, rescue and relief work is being carried on to account for everyone. We'll be talking about India's disaster response and management capabilities in this context on Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll be also talking about all the other updates as well that have come in through the day from the country and the world, including Prime Minister going all out against India maligners during his visits to West Bengal and Assam. But first, our headlines. Glacier bursts in Himalayan state of Uttarakhand. Several people killed in flash floods in Chamoli district. At least 125 still missing. Raging river sweeps across hydroelectric dam. Massive rescue operation underway. ITBP, SDRF and local administration teams continue rescue stranded people. 12 people pulled out from a blocked tunnel near Tapovan Dam. The situation is now said to be under control after the glacier burst in the morning. Water levels become normal, bringing relief. Several villages emptied out downstream along the banks of the Ganges. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat visits the affected spots and assesses the damage. Centre provides all required help. Cabinet Secretary chairs NCMC meeting to ensure well-coordinated response and disaster management. Prime Minister Narendra Modi monitors the Uttarakhand disaster while on his Assam and West Bengal visits. Says he's in constant touch with CM, Home Minister and rescue and relief agencies. The nation stands with Uttarakhand and prays for everyone's safety there. PM announces 2 lakh rupees for the next of kin of those killed, and state government announces a relief of 4 lakh rupees each. Several ministers and state chief ministers express sorrow for the loss of lives in the disaster. Prime Minister Modi lashes out against the international conspiracy to malign India, warns the plotters, says India will not allow these machinations to succeed, questions the silence of several opposition parties on the matter. PM dedicates several oil and gas and infrastructure projects to the nation in West Bengal. Was all out against the Mamata Banerjee government in his Haldia rally, says she's deprived the state of central schemes benefiting the poor and others. Appeals to bring the BJP to power in the state to end TMC's extortion and discrimination, announces PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana will be implemented in the state in the first cabinet meeting after BJP comes to power. The PM also launches Assam Mala during his visit to the northeastern state, lays foundation stones to 2 hospitals cum medical colleges. Says the day bears witness to a big transformation in Assam's fate and destiny as Assam Mala lays the foundation for modern infrastructure. The centre is working for Assam's development with full dedication. India makes steady progress in the battle against COVID-19. Over 57 lakh people inoculated in the country's vaccination drive. The PM says India is giving made-in-India vaccines to several countries for the benefit of humanity. Union INB Minister Prakash Javadekar kicks off awareness drive in Pune related to COVID vaccination drive and self-reliant India. Massive protest continues in Myanmar against the coup and detention of elected leaders. Thousands of people march for a 3rd straight day in Yangon. Internet partially shut. Police fire shots in the air to break up a protest in the southeastern town of Myawaddy. Protest also held in Thailand. Pope Francis expresses solidarity with the people of Myanmar. And Team India is in disarray as England tightens screws on the 3rd day of the first test in Chennai. Dom Bess's 4 wickets haul sees India finish the day at 257 for 6, needing another 122 runs to avoid the follow-on. Well, first up, a natural disaster in the upper Himalayan reaches of Uttarakhand on Sunday morning refreshed the painful memories of the 2013 Uttarakhand tragedy. A glacier burst near Joshimath not only caused loss of lives, but also swept away and damaged 2 power projects along with some bridges. The nation was horrified by images of rapidly advancing water sweeping away on its path. But swift response and disaster management ensured the situation was brought under control in a matter of a few hours. Several people are still missing and search and rescue operations are on to account for every individual.
A dreadful disaster on Sunday morning in Uttarakhand's Chamoli district. A glacier burst in the Rishiganga valley due to the snowfall over the last few days wreaked havoc downstream. Water rushing down caused the Dauliganga and Alaknanda rivers to suddenly flood up, and it caused a lot of destruction in some areas in the upper Himalayan reaches. Eyewitnesses said that the water level in the Dauliganga was suddenly seen to be rising and gathering speed with a thundering sound in the morning. The water rushed down with great force and it swept away everything in its path of destruction. A private company's Rishiganga power project located close to Raini village, which is situated at the confluence of the Rishiganga and Dauliganga rivers, was swept away. Several workers at the project site are said to be missing.
ये दुर्घटना लगभग 11-11 बजे की है जब एक अवलांच आया और उसने ऋषिगंगा पावर प्रोजेक्ट को जो है पूरी तरह से तोड़ दिया और वहां पे जो कर्मचारी काम कर रहे थे वो सब मिसिंग है ऑलमोस्ट. उसके आगे तपोवन में भी एक पावर प्रोजेक्ट था एनटीपीसी का, वो जो है उसको भी इम्पैक्ट किया है.
An under construction NTPC power project further downstream has also been damaged. State Disaster Response Force units along with NDRF, ITBP and army personnel have been deployed for carrying out the rescue operations. Over a dozen people stuck in a tunnel near the Tapovan Dam were pulled out alive and taken to safer places. Initially, ITBP said around 20 people were stuck in the under construction tunnel, which got blocked. The paramilitary force responded quickly and saved lives.
हेलिन में जो डाउन स्ट्रीम में है ऋषिकेश से करीब 13-14 किलोमीटर, वहाँ पे बड़ा डैम है तो वाटर वहाँ पे रुका है. अभी तपोवन जो डैम है वहाँ पे टनल अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन थी, तो उस टनल में काफ़ी करीब 20-25 वर्कर्स हैं जो उसमें फंसे हुए हैं. तो हमारी आईटीबीपी की टीम पूरी की पूरी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन साइट पे है और पूरे के पूरे एफर्ट्स जारी हैं.
The ITBP said it believes that the project site had around 100 workers and a few mortal remains have been recovered so far. Search and rescue operations are still on. The state administration's team reached the spot in no time to assess the damage. An alert was sounded out for the people living along the Alaknanda river banks from Raini to Srinagar. The police appealed to people on social media to keep themselves and those near and dear safe and move to safer spots. Helpline numbers were also put out in tweets by the Uttarakhand Tourism, saying, "If you are stuck in a disaster-affected zone, if you need any help, please contact Disaster Operations Center number 1070 or 9557 444486. Please do not spread rumors about the incident using old videos."
पानी का लेवल बिल्कुल सामान्य है, लेकिन जो श्रीनगर जैसे हमारा प्रोजेक्ट है उसके पानी उससे खाली कर दिया गया था ताकि किसी तरह का रिस्क न रहे. अनुमान के तहत मिसिंग 125 के आसपास हो सकते हैं, ज्यादा भी हो सकते हैं. ऊपर का प्रोजेक्ट कमीशन हो चुका था, वो काम उस पर चल रहा था. उस पर एक 36 लोगों की 35-36 लोग वहां पर काम कर रहे थे. उनमें से 5-6 लोग उनके सुरक्षित हैं.
The Bhagirathi river's flow was stopped as a precautionary measure. The Srinagar and Rishikesh dams were emptied out to stem the fury of the Alaknanda. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat left for the spot immediately after learning of the glacier burst and assessed the situation upon reaching there. He informed that the flow of Alaknanda has become normal after Nand Prayag. Its level was 1 meter above normal, but the flow was reducing. The Chief Minister also went to the disaster control room in the Dehradun Secretariat upon reaching the state capital after visiting the affected areas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also assessed the situation and promised all help from the centre in a conversation with the Chief Minister. Some NDRF teams were also air-dashed to the state. Alert has also been issued in Haridwar. All district magistrates were also sent disaster alerts in Uttar Pradesh. NDRF, SDRF and Flood Control Company of the PAC have been told to remain on high alert. A meeting of the NCMC was chaired in Delhi by Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba to assess the disaster. A ground report was given at the meeting by the state's Chief Secretary. The Central Water Commission said that the water level is now under control and poses no danger to neighbouring towns and villages. Tight vigil is being maintained by various agencies. Stress has been laid on finding every missing person and rescuing all those who remain stuck. With Rohit from Dehradun, News Night Desk, DD India.
Well, the horror of the images of the Chamoli flooding due to the glacier burst shook one and all. There was a flurry of reactions from President to Prime Minister to people from all walks of life on social media throughout the day. The nation prayed to keep people from harm, and to some extent, those prayers were also answered. And we do hope that they prove to be effective even for those who are still missing.
Agencies entrusted the responsibility of rescue and relief operations at the flood-ravaged Chamoli district of Himalayan state of Uttarakhand worked on war footing to ensure security of people in the region. Water level in Doli Ganga river rose suddenly following an avalanche near Rishi Ganga power project at Raini village in Tapovan area of the district. The centre and the state government worked in collaboration to control the situation. The centre's sincere initiative in this hour of crisis worked as a morale booster for the agencies involved in rescue and relief operations. President Ramnath Kovind has expressed grief over the incident and prayed for well-being and safety of people. Deeply worried about the glacier burst near Joshimath, Uttarakhand that caused destruction in the region, praying for well-being and safety of people, I'm confident that rescue and relief operations on ground are progressing well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was on a day's visit to Assam and West Bengal, kept a close watch over the incident. Prime Minister spoke to Uttarakhand Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat and other top officials and directed them to intensify rescue and relief works.
वहां पर राहत और बचाव का कार्य पुरजोश करने का प्रयास चल रहा है। लोगों को सुरक्षित स्थानों पर ले जाया जा रहा है। मेडिकल सुविधाओं में कोई कमी न हो, इस पर जोर दिया जा रहा है।
The Union Home Ministry is monitoring the situation closely. Home Minister Amit Shah ensured to provide every possible assistance to Dev Bhumi. He added Modi government is standing with the people of Uttarakhand in this time of crisis. Home Minister further added that all steps are being taken to minimize the loss of lives and properties.
मैं उत्तराखंड की सभी निवासियों को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार इस संकट की घड़ी में उत्तराखंड के साथ खड़ी है और हर संभव मदद देकर इस संकट से जल्दी उत्तराखंड बाहर आए और आम जनजीवन पहले की तरह शुरू हो जाए, इस दिशा में हमारे प्रयास हैं।
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said it was very shocking and added that Home Minister Amit Shah has assured all help to Uttarakhand following the floods.
मैं पहले मेरे उस ट्रेजेडी के ऊपर मेरा हार्ट फेल्ट condolences. It's a kind of tragedy which is very shocking.
BJP President JP Nadda also urged party workers to cooperate with the administration in rescue and relief works. JP Nadda in a tweet said, and I quote, "The administration is alert to the circumstances of glacier collapse in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. Chief Minister of Uttarakhand Trivendra Singh Rawat is personally looking after the rescue and relief operations. Have requested Uttarakhand BJP President Banshidhar Ji to depute BJP workers in helping victims and assisting the administration." The collapse of glaciers in Chamoli, Uttarakhand may cause trouble for neighbouring Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. UP government on Sunday sounded an alert for districts through which Ganga flows. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar called his Uttarakhand counterpart Trivendra Singh Rawat over the phone and offered support in this hour of crisis.
हम लोगों ने पूरी तरह सतर्कता बरती है। घटना के तुरंत बाद हमें जानकारी मिल गई थी और हम लोगों ने अपने यहाँ जल शक्ति विभाग को पहले से अलर्ट कर दिया है। गृह विभाग एक गतिविधि पे नजर रख रहा है।
वहाँ पर जो कुछ भी हुआ है उसके लिए हमारे अधिकारीगण भी वहाँ के पूरे संपर्क में हैं, क्योंकि गंगा नदी से संबंधित ये चीज उसका असर पड़ने वाला, हम लोगों को भी यहाँ सबको अलर्ट रहने की आवश्यकता होगी।
As the news of flood in Chamoli flashed, government agencies swung into action. As a result, loss of lives and properties could be minimized and further damage could be contained as well. News Night Desk for DD India.
Let's now explain to you on our video wall, how it all happened and how then the situation was managed at different locations really as the situation unfolded over a matter of hours. It all began with the glacier bursting over here just above, what is the Rainy village, which is at the confluence of two rivers. That's where the glacier burst, and the rush of water started coming down around between 10 and 11 in the morning, this morning itself. And it was quite a horrifying sight for all those who witnessed it. This is Rainy village, and very close to it, we will, when we go downstream, also show you how an impact was felt further downstream as well. But that is a critical point where this entire matter really came to a head. Rishi Ganga power project completely swept away, because that was the kind of force that the water came with. Very, very fast and very, very great volume of water came in and just simply swept away this under construction power project, where a lot of workers were there as well, and a lot of them are missing at this stage. Now, even further down, the NTPC power project was also there, where impact was felt of this water coming down very, very fast. There was fear that there would be damage in Vishnuprayag as well, but at that time, the entire disaster management authorities, all the state and the central infrastructure, even satellite images were being used to ensure that this doesn't happen by managing things further downstream. We'll tell you about that as well. So, but warnings and alerts were given out in Vishnuprayag as well. A lot of people had to be taken away from the banks of the river here as well, so that they are out of harm's way. So this was another big action point through the day today. If we move on further downstream very quickly, and you see how fast and how far the water could have traveled, and it did as well, but it was managed so well that all these areas, these pins that we have marked, there are little settlements all along the path of the river, the track of the river, and all these settlements escaped a lot of pain today because of the actions that were also taken downstream, like emptying out dams and taking other actions as well at the Tehri Dam. Karnprayag was a critical point. By the time the water reached here, things had been managed to a large extent, in a matter of 3 or 4 hours. And further down as well, if you head to other locations, things were looking better here as well, but everybody was completely on alert, looking out for any sort of a situation that might emerge, and the situation was being tracked in Delhi, of course, in Dehradun, and locally as well. So very, very well coordinated operation, and at the same time there were ITBP, there was SDRF, local authorities, and NDRF was also called in to come in for the rescue act, and which is why all these places like Rudraprayag and further downstream, if we take you in the map, they were all spared. But even now there is a state of alert in these towns to ensure that no one comes in harm's way. Moving on further, if we take you further downstream, we will see to what extent there was a fear that the impact of this disaster will be felt, but then things have been managed pretty well, is what we can definitely say in this case. Look at the track of the river. There are all along the river, it's a natural progression of how human civilization has gone, that people do tend to stay close to rivers. They tend to farm there as well. All these people had to be moved. Srinagar Dam was completely emptied out. It was drained literally to ensure that the water coming in from uphill has space and can settle down, and the water level, rising water level, can be managed. So that was the kind of step that was taken at this juncture as well. If we head further downstream, there was fear of impact even further downstream, all the way to Haridwar in fact, but the situation is now completely under control, is what we can definitely say. And at the same time, even Devprayag was spared. So all kinds of horrific memories did get refreshed, when one heard about this sort of disaster, and one saw those images, very disturbing images of the water rushing down. But everything was managed within a matter of hours through great planning and coordination, and which is why all these locations that we're showing you on the map, Rishikesh as well, has been spared. There is still an alert out. People have been told to be careful, watchful, look out for everyone. There are helpline numbers that have been given. If anybody is in trouble, they can call those numbers and let the authorities know that they need any kind of help. So that is how the situation has played out through the day, and we'll be talking about this further as well. We'll have a very special guest with us in just a bit. Stay with Newsnight.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD News and DD India.
और इस गीत के बाद
छाया गीत
और इंडिया रेडियो
But won the first prize. ये ना बहुत रोमांटिक रही है.
Ahead of the trade negotiations, Tala stated
दिवस के साथ-साथ
it has undergone 9 revisions.
Kohli, with 903 rating points, is 34 points behind Smith. 900.
This is All India Radio. The news read by Anuja Kumar. Namaskar.
Welcome back. You're watching News 9 and we're talking about the glacier burst that took place in Uttarakhand in the morning, and then there are operations still on to rescue and to find people who are still missing, but a lot of that situation was pretty well managed and mitigated the disaster to a large extent as well, which is what our In Focus is about tonight. Uttarakhand disaster, swift response saving lives. And we have S.N. Pradhan, Director General of the National Disaster Response Force, joining us, and also Ridhima Agarwal, DIG SDRF Uttarakhand, is also with us on the phone line. If I could ask you, Ms. Agarwal, first, what is the latest as far as the situation in the state, particularly in Chamoli district, is concerned? What can you tell us about the people who are still missing?
Since morning, we've had a figure of about 150 people, the workforce from the two power projects, NTPC and Rishi Ganga, who were reported missing. 12 people, they've been rescued from a tunnel, and the rescue is still underway from another tunnel where we expect about 35 to 40 people. The rescue work is going on with the SDRF, NDRF and ITBP on the spot, and we hope to minimize the loss of lives as much as possible.
And what we know about the condition of these people who have been located, as you're saying?
As of now, we just know that they were working in the tunnel, but there has been no contact with any of them so far.
Okay. And in terms of how this disaster took place and the response that we've seen images of throughout the day, what more can you tell us as to how is it ensured that, that teams that were conducting the search and rescue reached as quickly as possible? We saw that reactions were near immediate.
Absolutely. The response time of all the forces was minimum today. They responded as soon as we got the information. It was about 11:30 that we got this information about an avalanche in the higher plains of Chamoli. Immediately, SDRF, NDRF, ITBP, Army, all these control rooms were informed. Their teams were mobilized either by road or by choppers. So we had almost all the rescue teams on the spot within an hour. And then downstream, yes, because it was an avalanche and the entire area of Tapovan had been inundated. So we sent out alerts to all the districts which were downstream. We had Rudraprayag, Tehri, Pauri, Haridwar and Dehradun. People in the riverside, on riverside, either camping or rafting, they were all evacuated. District administration and local police had a major role to play in that. And by the time the river flow reached Nandprayag at about 2, since the water levels had gone down, the water flow was very normal. So we realized, yes, that it is out of danger. The situation is under control now.
Ridhima Agarwal, DIG SDRF Uttarakhand, thank you so much for joining us and getting us that update and talking about how the entire response to this disaster was carried out and coordinated, that ensured that the loss of lives to property as well was minimized. Let's now bring in S.N. Pradhan as well, Director General, National Disaster Response Force, who's with us. Good evening to you. S.N. Pradhan, what I would like to know from you is get a general perspective on how things were carried out today if you compare them to what happened in 2013 or even earlier, when India did not have the kind of capabilities that it has to handle and manage disasters.
Well, it is without doubt that India is probably now holding a template to the world at large as to how to handle disasters. And in terms of response, as Ridhima was saying just now, the response time that is used is minimal. The teams are always on the alert and they move fast. So whether by air, whether by road, teams move fast. So I think there is a quantum leap in the terms of our capabilities and our alertness, our readiness to handle disasters. Having said that, in this case, I think the state administration must be complemented, the state police, the state SDRF, and of course, we should not forget the ITBP, which was stationed, which has a battalion in Joshimath. The commandant was contacted by us, and already he had moved his teams. The local army units have moved their teams. The local police and SDRF had moved their teams. So I think it was a brilliant effort at the local level at first. And now, of course, NDRF teams have joined, and there will be more will be joining very soon. And I think it's a very well coordinated effort, and I must salute the entire all the stakeholders who have joined in. Our work it's not far from over. It will take probably another 24 to 48 hours to have a full grip over the situation. But at least the initial response has been of the highest order in terms of coordination and acumen. And I hope this continues as we speak.
Definitely, one would hope that, and one would hope that the work that is going on right now to find people to, hunt for them, that is also successful, and people are brought out alive as well. But just tell us, when such kind of disasters strike, what is the most difficult aspect of it, and how have we gone about, putting a template together? We have a plan in place, and we've had it for years now, as to how to handle different kind of disasters, and this particularly fits that template as well for a region like Uttarakhand, which is prone to avalanches. Now we see these glacier bursts happening. There have been earthquakes as well.
Well, I must underline again that there is a great difference in terms of what was witnessed in 2013. It was, of course, a cloudburst situation and other things in 2013. But now there has been, what is on display is a very well coordinated effort, and immediately the Cabinet Secretary held a National Crisis Management Committee meeting where the Home Secretary himself was present, who is the head of the NEC, the National Executive Council for Disasters. The Uttarakhand Chief Secretary and top brass was present online. There were all the other stakeholders, including the Integrated Defense Services. So you can see that there is a promptness and alertness and an alacrity and proactiveness in the response, and there are no corners cut. So it is not as if the state administration is burdened with the responsibility. The center takes the responsibility, the central agencies take the responsibility, while not forgetting that state disaster management is a state subject. But then nobody burdens the other agency with the onus that disaster management being a state subject, it should all be handled by state agencies.
Right.
So everything comes together, and without borders, it's a seamless integration and seamless coordination. And that, I think, is on display. I hope that we are able to save more lives and maximum property and lives as the things develop. It's a developing situation, although the water levels have receded, and probably the worst is over in terms of the impact of the incident. But then whatever has happened, the impact is still an unfolding impact. And in terms of life and property, I hope we are able to save maximum number of lives. Having said that, as I said, it's a long haul. It's probably going to be in the next 24 to 48 hours that we'll know the exact nature of the damage to life and property. And it is here to hope that we are able to save the maximum number of people.
Well, certainly the nation is keeping its fingers crossed. But just also tell us, in terms of the kind of capabilities India has developed in geospatial imaging, overall in space, and even forecasting the weather, that too, I'm sure, plays a large part in ensuring that, well, not just the fact that people who are missing are found, and even the people who go out to find them, to rescue them, they are also safe.
I think the lesson learned here is that India and all the stakeholder agencies of India, whether state or center, must act together as Team India. The Prime Minister often talks about the Team India. This is where the Team India's capability should be on display. You know, just before this program, there was a message from Mr. Shekhar Mandey, the head of CSIR, asking whether any technologies are required or anything that CSIR can do to help. DRDO was on board, IMD was on board, the Central Water Commission was on board, the NRSA, the ISRO are on board. The Air Force is going to overfly these areas to see if there is any further glacial activity. You know, agencies, some of them which I cannot name, are also on board just to find out if there is anything further to be looked at and be alert about. So we are in a day and age, and I must thank the government for this, that the whole system is working like a well-oiled machine and as Team India. And that is very much a gratifying thing, and I think that is why we are handling disasters better. We are saving more lives and we are saving more property. I hope this is the case this time also. And but whatever the result, it goes without saying that for the next foreseeable days, we will be working round the clock till we are able to save maximum number of people, or at least account for all the people who are missing.
Well, certainly, it's a strategically important zone as well, and installations there as well that are very critical for not just people but for our security as well. And I hope that whatever damage has been sustained can also be rebuilt pretty soon. On that note, I thank you for joining us this evening. SN Pradhan, DG, NDRF. Okay, now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed his first election rally in West Bengal today with a rally in Haldia. The PM went all guns blazing against ruling TMC and the state's chief minister, targeting her on multiple fronts ranging from depriving West Bengal of benefits of central policies and schemes and getting angry when chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai are raised. Take a look.
बंगाल ममता की आस लेके जी रहा था, लेकिन 10 साल उसे निर्ममता मिली। मां माटी मानुष की बातें करने वालों में आज भारत माता के लिए आवाज बुलंद करने का साहस नहीं है। इन लोगों ने पॉलिटिक्स को क्रिमिनलाइज किया है, करप्शन को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज किया है और प्रशासन और पुलिस को पॉलिटिसाइज किया है। चलुन पाल्टाई, लक्ष्य एकटाई, वंदे मातरम, भारत माता की।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi blowing the poll bugle in West Bengal from Haldia, a day after BJP's Parivartan rally was flagged off from Kolkata. Mincing no words, he exposed the Mamata government on every front. Taking a swig at Mamata Banerjee's short temper, Prime Minister said that while chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai infuriated her, she fails to speak out against the anti-national elements who spew venom against India.
बंगाल में आप दीदी से अपने अधिकार की बात पूछ देंगे तो वो बौखला जाती है, चिलमिला जाती है। यहां तक कि भारत माता की जय के नारे लगा दो तो भी वो नाराज हो जाती है। लेकिन देश के खिलाफ बोलने वाले कितना भी जहर उगल दे, दीदी को गुस्सा ही नहीं आता है।
Prime Minister recalled the infamous Marichapi massacre during the left rule in the state, terming it a black mark in the history of West Bengal. He also targeted the TMC government for rising crimes against Dalit and the poor. Highlighting the recent desertions from the ranks of TMC, Prime Minister said that the days of TMC's extortion culture are numbered.
बंगाल तृणमूल से ये पूछना चाहता है, जिन्होंने नंदीग्राम में गोलियां चलाई थी, आप उन्हीं को पार्टी में क्यों शामिल कर रही है? टीएमसी ने एक के बाद एक कई फाउल कर लिए हैं। मिस गवर्नेंस का फाउल, विरोधियों पर हमले और हिंसा का फाउल, बंगाल के लोगों का पैसा लूटने का फाउल। बंगाल तृणमूल को राम कार्ड दिखाने जा रहा है।
Prime Minister squarely blamed the Mamata government for stalling implementation of welfare schemes launched by the union government. During the COVID pandemic, people of West Bengal suffered because schemes like Ayushman Bharat Yojana and PM Kisan Nidhi Yojana hadn't been implemented here.
मैं बंगाल के किसानों को वादा करता हूं कि देश के और किसानों को जो लाभ मिला है वो पुराने पैसे भी भारत सरकार बंगाल के किसानों को दे देगी।
Prime Minister saluted the sacrifices of the victims of political violence in the state. He accused the Congress, left and the TMC of match fixing for the sake of winning elections.
खेल के अंदर मैच फिक्सिंग होता है, लेकिन अब लेफ्ट, कांग्रेस और तृणमूल मिलकर राजनीति में पर्दे के पीछे मैच फिक्सिंग कर रहे हैं। हमें सजग रहना है और दूसरों को भी सजग करना है।
Prime Minister's message from Haldia was clear.
करप्शन और टोलाबाजी तब हटेगी जब यहां आसोल परिवर्तन आएगा।
With inputs from Kumar Alok, Bureau Report, TD India.
And the PM also went hammer and tongs against those who've been pointing fingers at the government at both home and abroad, particularly on social media, related to the farmers' agitation against the 3 new farm laws. He said an international conspiracy to malign India and its iconic markers like yoga and tea has been exposed, and gave a call to the people to foil it.
After the alleged foreign conspiracy link was exposed, central government and police apparatus are on high alert and are monitoring social media very closely. Addressing rallies in northeastern state of Assam and West Bengal, Prime Minister Modi slammed anti-India bandwagon on their systematic ploy to dent India's image.
इन दिनों भारत को बदनाम करने के लिए कैसे-कैसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय षड्यंत्र सामने आ रहे हैं, कैसी-कैसी साजिशें खुल रही है। अब तो इस बात की प्लानिंग की जा रही है कि कैसे भारत को बदनाम करना है, कैसे भारत की छवि को बिगाड़ना है। साजिश करने वालों की बेचैनी इतनी ज्यादा है कि भारत को बदनाम करने के लिए वो चाय से जुड़ी भारत की पहचान पर हमला करने की बात कर रहे हैं। टी वर्कर्स की कड़ी मेहनत पर हमला करने का षड्यंत्र किया जा रहा है।
Prime Minister also questioned the silence of certain political parties over anti-India propaganda.
भारत के खिलाफ इन षड्यंत्रों पर, इन साजिशों पर दीदी के मुंह से एक भी वाक्य सुना है क्या? अनेक ऐसे हैं जिन्होंने देश के लोगों ने दशकों तक सेवा का मौका दिया, वो भी या तो चुप है या इन षड्यंत्रों का समर्थन कर रहे हैं।
Prime Minister warned these conspirators, saying their mission to tarnish India's image will never ever succeed.
लेकिन इन षड्यंत्रकारियों से मैं कहना चाहता हूं, देश इन षड्यंत्रों का पूरी ताकत से जवाब देगा।
Foreign vested interests trying to create chaos in the country by spreading false propaganda against India, and foreign influencers expressing their solidarity with a bunch of protesters. All this got blatantly exposed when a toolkit document attached with a tweet of an international celebrity surfaced, though the tweet was later deleted. Cracking the whip, Delhi police has lodged an FIR against unknown persons for creating provocative content shared on social media. Even the External Affairs Ministry, in a tough stance, lashed out on such foreign elements for commenting on India's domestic issues like farm laws, agitation, without ascertaining the facts first. News Now Desk for DD India.
And this brings up our second in focus tonight, which is PM takes on malign India conspirators. That's what we're talking about now this evening. And to talk about it, we have foreign affairs expert Dr. Harinder Sekho with us. Good evening to you, Dr. Sekho. What do you make of how the PM has taken on these malign India conspirators? Now it is completely an all-out attack against them and also on those who've stayed silent on what has been exposed as an international conspiracy.
I think the word conspiracy is a very strong word.
Okay.
It's a very strong word. In fact...
But there is a concerted effort.
I could say it's a concerted effort, but you have to really look at the background, because India has been under intense media scrutiny for quite some time, and this started more with when we revoked the Article 370 and the Citizen Amendment Act. At that time, there was a lot of adverse media attention globally against India, and I think this is not just it doesn't pertain only to India, other countries as well. I mean, look at the United States, it's come under so much of flack. The kind of adverse media reaction which Trump got media attention. So I think this needs to be seen in the overall rise of sensationalism, social media, each one trying to be, garner prime time, media sensationalizes, social media, everyone wants to be one up. So I think it's a continuation of that process, and it's not specifically targeted at India per se. That's the way. And also Rihanna's tweet.
What the government has seen is a concerted bid to malign India's image, and it says that there's a propaganda that is taking place. How do you see that?
I think it's not... we also tweet. I mean, the same Kangana Ranaut who came out so heavily against the Rihanna tweet has been equally vociferous in tweeting about the coup in Myanmar. So you cannot have double standards when you're living in a global world where media is free or supposed to be free. These things are part of the game, and you need to actually counter it with facts and figures.
That probably will happen because the Delhi police has lodged an FIR in the matter, and the matter is being actively probed as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I think if it was the matter is being investigated, because it was the People for Justice. They accused the People for Justice, and Rihanna and Greta Thunberg were accused. It was said that 2.5 million pounds or dollars was paid to them to tweet, which they have denied. So I think let the investigations be complete and let the total picture emerge. But to say that it's just leveled against India, I do not really subscribe to that view, because Rihanna was actually tweeting against to a link in a CNN article. And we must also keep in mind that Rihanna has been taking up humanitarian causes even before this.
Okay.
She has spoken about Black Lives Matter. She has commented on the guns in the United States. Harvard University in 2017 named her as the Humanitarian of the Year. So to say that, she has just picked this up out of the blue.
Okay, let's talk about India's image now. It's being seen as a bid to malign India, but India has so much goodwill through the decades as well, and in recent years as well. In these recent COVID times, the kind of work that India has done with so many numerous countries, over 100 countries, giving them medicines and supplies, and now we're giving vaccines. Countries are lining up literally to get made in India vaccines as well, and we're delivering. Where we've given them as grant, we're also giving them on contract basis. Do you think all this goodwill can be damaged by something like this?
I don't think so. I do not think so. Because this is something, tomorrow there will be another evocative issue which will gather momentum, and this would be forgotten. So I think the government should have reacted in a mature manner. I mean, for the minister to react to a tweet by a Bollywood, a Hollywood actress It's like President Trump reacting to a tweet by one of our Bollywood actresses. I think it should have been ignored rather, and the investigation should have been ordered in a much more low-key manner. India has tremendous goodwill. People recognize its potential both economically and strategically. We are not, we are a country which has arrived. We have huge developmental challenges, but we have, I think, faced them rather well. And even in COVID, we have really proven ourselves the way we've handled it, given the huge size of our population. And also, as you mentioned, the vaccine diplomacy. Before that also, I think India has had a tremendous soft power.
Which is why perhaps because India is doing so much for the world as well, for its own citizens, that it couldn't just be allowed, for this to be, just ignored, that such a bid is on, where you have seen a playbook, in fact, being tweeted out and then being deleted. So that was not easy to ignore, really.
Certainly. You have to defend yourself, you have to correct the picture, you have to correct the image. And I think the farmers' issue has become a very emotive issue, both within the country and outside, and it's become politicized. It's unfortunately become very politicized, and the real issue has, has been sidelined completely. But coming to India's image, I think we, over the years, and especially over the past 2 decades, our image has seen a great increase. Even before that, like through Bollywood, through our movies, the Indian Americans who have done so well, the global Indian, I think we have projected ourselves in a very positive light, and we should actually invest in our people to spread the positive light rather than spread negative images and news about India.
Certainly, India's goodwill will endure and it will only be built upon further. That is something that is certain. Thanks for joining us this evening, Dr. Seko.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and moving on now, apart from addressing a rally there in West Bengal, the PM also dedicated to the nation and lay foundation stones of key infrastructure projects in West Bengal during his visit to the state today. The projects will enhance the clean energy capacity of the state and will allow ease of access to Haldia docks. Prime Minister hailed these projects as another step towards creating an Atmanirbhar or self-reliant India.
Marching towards a self-reliant India on a new path of development, Prime Minister dedicated LPG import terminal built by BPCL and 348-kilometer Dobi-Durgapur natural gas pipeline section. He also laid foundation stone of the second catalytic isode vaccine unit of Haldia refinery of IOC and dedicated a 4-lane ROB cum flyover at Rani Chak. The projects inaugurated will enhance ease of living and ease of doing business. With focus on strengthening gas-based economy, new projects will create opportunities to empower youth.
जिन 4 प्रोजेक्ट्स का लोकार्पण और शिलान्यास किया गया है, उनसे पश्चिम बंगाल सहित पूर्वी भारत के अनेक राज्यों में ईज ऑफ लिविंग और ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस दोनों बेहतर होंगे.
The Dobi-Durgapur natural gas pipeline will cater to the growing requirements of LPG in West Bengal and other states in eastern and northeastern India. It will be an important step towards realizing the vision of providing clean LPG to every household. Prime Minister underlined that project will generate 11 lakh man days of employment.
इस पाइपलाइन को बनाते समय करीब 11 लाख मैंडेज का रोजगार यहां के लोगों को मिला है. अब जब ये पूरी हो गई है तो इन तमाम जिलों के हजारों परिवारों के किचन में पाइप से सस्ती गैस पहुंच पाएगी.
Highlighting steps taken on building modern facilities, Prime Minister said that efforts are underway to make Haldia a trading and investment hub.
कोलकाता के श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी पोर्ट ट्रस्ट को आधुनिक बनाने के लिए बीते सालों में अनेक कदम उठाए गए हैं. अब हल्दिया से पोर्ट तक जाने वाले कार्गो कम समय में पहुंचेंगे.
Based on Port Lake Development Model, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port of Kolkata and Haldia Dock Complex are being modernized to enhance connectivity with other countries. These projects are in line with Prime Minister's vision of Purvodaya and marks an important milestone in the development journey of the state. With inputs from Rajiv Bhattacharya, DD India.
Now, the world's largest vaccination drive in India is yielding positive results as India has recorded lowest daily COVID-19 deaths since May 2020. India has also become the third topmost country in the world to administer vaccines all across the country, according to the latest report by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Started on the 16th of January, the mass vaccination drive has inoculated thousands of beneficiaries till date, including frontline workers and medical professionals. In fact, more than 57 lakh. More in this report.
India's fight against COVID-19 gets stronger every day as mass vaccination drive reaches another milestone. Over 5.75 million beneficiaries were vaccinated till date. As per the Health Ministry data, very few beneficiaries reported minor symptoms after the jab, but no major ill effect observed till now.
भारत टीकाकरण भी नए रिकॉर्ड बना रहा है। कोरोना वायरस से देश के हर नागरिक को जल्द से जल्द सुरक्षित करने के लिए हम कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ रहे हैं। यहां तक कि दुनिया भर के दर्जनों देशों को भी उनके टीकाकरण अभियान में आज भारत मदद कर रहा है।
In a bid to increase awareness among the citizens, Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting Prakash Javadekar launched a massive statewide vaccine awareness campaign. He kicked off the campaign in Pune, which will cover 36 districts of the western state of Maharashtra and 2 districts of Goa.
16 vehicles with digital screens and local artists will participate in that campaign, and every day it will travel around 100 kilometers each vehicle, covering all the villages and routes, and will be monitoring it centrally on the movement of vehicles.
According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, India's cumulative recovery surpassed 10.5 million, surging the recovery rate to 971.91% as on February 7th. The death rate stands at 1.43% in the country. On the other hand, 11,805 COVID patients recovered from the virus in the last 24 hours. Having administered over 5.75 million vaccinations across the country, India now stands at the 3rd position with highest doses of vaccinations in the world. Only United States and UK remain ahead of India in the projections. The cumulative total of global coronavirus cases have reached 105 million infections. According to the World Health Body WHO, the death toll exceeded 2.29 million. United States tops the death list. News Night Desk, DD India.
And Afghanistan received 5,500,000 doses of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine from India on Sunday, the first to arrive in the country, which is still waiting for emergency approval from the World Health Organization before it can use them. Ghulam Dastagir Nazari, head of the immunization program at the Health Ministry in Afghanistan, said the doses would be stored in Kabul until the emergency authorization is received, which it is hoped would come in sometime next week. The vaccines were produced by the Serum Institute of India, which is producing the AstraZeneca and Oxford University vaccine for mid and low-income countries.
We received 500 doses of vaccine for COVID-19 patients from the government of India. Based on the National Vaccine Deployment Plan, this consignment will be administered for the healthcare sector first-line defenders, and the rest of the batch will be allocated for the elders with chronic diseases.
India is very happy that we have a long tradition of history and cooperation. In good times and bad, India and Afghanistan have stayed together, and we call it as a vaccine Maitri, which is friendship through vaccination. India has been a pharmacy to the world. Our manufacturing capacity to supply vaccines have been put into use, putting aside commercial considerations against vaccine nationalism to help everybody.
And in international news, massive protests have been on in Myanmar after a week of civil disobedience against military coup and detention of elected leaders in the country. Tens of thousands of people have been protesting in the biggest city of Yangon and across the country. Tense scenes played out outside a local high school in southeastern town of Myawaddy as police fired shots in the air to break up a protest. Here's more.
Protests in Myanmar continue after a week of civil disobedience against the coup. Thousands of people marched for a second day in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon, on Sunday to protest against the military junta's coup and detention of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi last week. Protesters in Yangon carried red balloons, the color representing Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party, and chanted, "We don't want military dictatorship, we want democracy." Sunday's gathering was much bigger than one on Saturday, when tens of thousands took to the streets in the first mass protest against the coup, and in spite of a blockade on the internet ordered by the junta in the name of ensuring calm.
Our ancestors had made revolution against the military. We cannot just let the military win. Citizens had already shown their demands by voting. I want to encourage all the Myanmar citizens and all the media around the world to join us in the protest to get rid of the Union of Myanmar from the military dictatorship.
Tense scenes played out outside a local high school in the southeastern town of Mayawadi on Sunday as police fired shots in the air to break up protests against Myanmar's junta. Tens of thousands protested across the country on Saturday as well, in an upswelling of anger towards the military that arrested Suu Kyi and her cabinet in the early hours of last Monday and formed the new military government.
Now let's tell you about cricket and sports in Washington. Sundar and Ravichandran Ashwin added unbeaten 32 runs for the 7th wicket as they kept India afloat in the match on day 3 of the first test against England in Chennai. After India were reduced to 73 for 4, Pant and Pujara put on 119 runs to stop the rout, but they fell in quick succession as well. And from 225, Sundar and Ashwin took India past the 250-run mark and frustrated the English attack as they batted for more than 17 overs together. Earlier in the day, after Jofra Archer removed the openers, Dom Bess took 4 wickets to keep England on top after the visitors scored a mammoth 578 in their first innings. On day 4, the visitors will be aiming to continue their domination against India, who are back up against the ropes. And that's all we have at the moment in Newsnight tonight. But for all the latest, do keep tuning in to DD India.